Good evening, Raskin enjoyers. I hope you're doing alright, because it's time for a predictions video. Yesterday, a few hours ago, all 8 of these skins rotated into the Rust store, and basically, we're going to go ahead and try and figure out which of these skins might be the best investment this week, which of these skins might give us some of those sweet, delicious-looking profits. Now, at first glance, you're probably looking at it and thinking, that's a bit dull. A lot of people aren't very enthusiastic with this Rust store rotation, but hey, I did expect this. I pointed it out last night. So last night we did our abnormal buy orders, and I did discuss my expectations for tomorrow. Don't assume it's going to be a wild batch of skins. It's very likely going to be very tame, very calm, and that's exactly what we see back over to here. Now, just understand this. Next week is looking to be very interesting based on all the little things that are being introduced for the upcoming March Forcewipe. On March 7th, we're going to be getting, potentially, I think it's going to actually be the introduction of the tutorial island. That might not be very interesting to you, but it's that. We're potentially getting the changes to harbour, as in completely revamped, different, and the cargo ship actually docks in the monument now. We'll see what happens when it actually is released, but that's getting revamped. We're also getting potentially the flamethrower. I'm not sure if that's 100% finished yet. There's also work being done on a minigun. We've only just seen some rumblings about a bike. Now, I don't think it's going to be out ready by next week, but keep an eye on the commits. We also might be getting a DLC prepared for the likes of a TC skin. Yes, the first ever tool cupboard skin, very likely is just around the corner. Not sure if that's going to be there just yet. But then we've also got the likes of the Nightlight, aka Moonlight, is going to be introduced as well. So there's a lot of various little things that are going to be introduced next week, but that I can't help but assume is definitely going to bring in a lot of people. So a lot of people very likely will be appearing for, of course, the Forcewipe on March 7th. And that means a lot of very curious people very likely will also look at the item store, or rather, the Rust store. And Face Puncher is really fully well aware of that. So in short, to see a bit of a dull week this week, you should acknowledge that with the Forcewipe next week, we're probably going to have some very good picks. And if I show you the most recent skins that are submitted, so I do hope many of you are looking at the likes of my Rust Workshop skin checks, where every week we look at all the newest submissions and identify all the collection continuations, which is right here. I chaptered them all out. And what notable skins do we see right here? Flashbacks Tier 3. Oh, there you go. A continuation of the Flashbacks collection. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be greatly appreciating that. Well, guess what? A skin such as that, I'm pretty sure they'd rather put it out for a Forcewipe, because like I said, typically with a Forcewipe, if you look at the likes of peak player counts, these typically happen on the day the Forcewipe happens. Loads of people want to start fresh. It's the most enjoyable part. So, in short, basically, I can't help but assume with loads of people playing, we'll be seeing some very interesting picks, such as flashbacks. I've backed out too much. Sorry about this. So go back over to here. There we go. Flashbacks. Or maybe, just maybe, you could see the likes of Legacy Kevlar Boots and Gloves version 2. Or maybe Thundergold Hoodie and Pants, maybe, version 2 as well. And then we also have the likes of a very cool looking, there was a very cool looking jacket skin just before here. So there's the black one, which is nice and all, but it's the white one, a white jacket potentially as well. Loads of very interesting clothing and armor skins. I bring up those more based on the fact that we tend to see much better profits with clothing and armor. Just understand this, all right? I've backed out again too much. We have some very, very, very interesting skins lined up perfectly for next week. And I won't be surprised if next week we see some very interesting looking skin picks. We could potentially end up with Thundergold, we could potentially end up with Legacy Kevlar, we could potentially end up with flashbacks. Maybe we get more than one of them, like as in at least one or two, or maybe we just get one of them. At the very least, if we just get at least one of those groups, we're going to have a very good time, okay? So just acknowledge this, it's the calm before the storm, metaphorically speaking. So whilst it's a bit calm right now, enjoy the silence, because next week, who knows what might be appearing, but I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing a very interesting looking continuation of a notable collection. Sounds good enough? Alright, so now that you've kind of been brought down a bit so you're no longer so frustrated, we can actually look at some of these skins and still identify potential profits to be made. You just got to look at this a little bit harder. So, shall I proceed? Shall I look at these skins and tell you what I'm thinking is looking to be lining up to being a perfectly fine investment? So the main thing that I'm looking at that I think is going to probably perform the best in terms of retaining its value is actually looking to be the Roadsign gloves. Yeah. Now, as much as you might be sitting there questioning, but Hedge, don't you normally not really like metallic sets that much? And yeah, I do point that out because typically, you know, once all the skins have been accepted and whatnot, which technically we have right here with the Damascus collection, will this actually remain being in demand? Well, it turns out someone's pumping up the hoodie at the moment, so we'll see what happens there. But I recall quite some time back that we had another metallic set that just finished, which was Hardsuit. And when we look at the state of the Hardsuit collection, as you can see, it's not really held up very well. Now, there were some more skins bought here, like almost 20,000 across the board, except the Tier 2. But as you look at all of these skins, you might notice, why is that in the positive? Huh? The gloves are fine. Huh. And this is a bit of a weird thing, a bit of a strange trend. When you look at all the Roadsign gloves, typically, all the gloves that are in the positive are from collections that are complete. I'm talking at least Tier 2, Tier 3, and hoodie and pants. And it doesn't matter if the collection's performing pretty badly, they still have the gloves in the positive. Let's go take a look at Hardsuit right here. There you go, that's doing fine. But what else could we potentially look at? So we do have the likes of Copper, Skullkiller, JPEG. Consider looking at this yourself. But yeah, if I just go take a look at Copper, for example, what do we see? And the answer is, the whole collection is essentially in the negative, except the gloves. But we've got the full collection there. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at the likes of Skullkiller. Same thing, full collection. I click it, what do we see? Every single skin is essentially in the negative, but the gloves. And then JPEG, over to here. Now, this one's faring a little bit better, but still, as you can see, the vast majority of it is in the negative, except the likes of this, and of course, the gloves. For some strange reason, Roadsign gloves are very reliable investments. Now, it's more of a case of, I look at this pair of gloves right here, and I sit here and say, if I had to pick something, if you're forcing me to sit there and say, Hedge, I have to spend some money, and I need to be able to sell these skins in the future, at least to get my money back, or at least make a profit, it's the gloves. It's the gloves. And I'm sure I've just showcased it to you well enough. Now, let me sit here and say, don't go buying 1,000 of them. That's not going to really work. You're not going to be making ridiculous profits out of this. You'll make some profit. You will retain some value, but it's reliable. That's what it appears to be. Now, one problem with this is that it's not abnormal. This is a regular skin. You cannot do a buy order at an earlier time. So we don't have that advantage. However, I still can't help but assume it's still going to be perfectly fine. And, you know, very recently we did see another pair of gloves being accepted. And what was that? It was the Abyss gloves. Now, these sold for $2, which was a bit awkward because all of these other ones sold at 99 cents. So this was more expensive, but guess what? It's still in the positive, up 56%. Now, what actually worked out well with this is that the gloves didn't sell as much compared to the clothing and the armor. This only did about 10,000 sales, but this did about 15,000 sales. And then the Tier 2 did about 16,000 sales. And then the Tier 3 did about almost 30. So basically, the gloves sold little compared to the rest. And therefore, because there's only so many of them to go around, it's doing very comfortable at the moment. And let me remind you, currently right now, many skins are going down in price because we're getting closer to Easter. It's a yearly trend. It happens every year. But most skins are suffering. Yeah, I looked at many gloves. They're doing good. They're doing fine. So Damascus Roadsign gloves are the skin that I honestly think has the best chance in actually retaining their value. Need I say any more? But the main thing that we've got to keep an eye out for is, will these gloves actually match up to what these are selling on average? So Tier 3 sold about 12 to 13,000. Hoodie and pants did about 13,000. And then all of these did almost 20,000. Yeah, Tier 2's in a bit of an awkward spot because there's a lot more sales of these compared to these. But it's the gloves we're looking at. How many sales will it have by Wednesday? Because on Wednesday, I will be doing my abnormal barders video, or stream. I'll be there. Just look at the description of this video right now. You'll see all the links to my socials and whatnot. And I'll be looking at those. Whilst I can't do abnormal barders, I can still look at the amount of sales that we've had and make a consideration if I actually want to jump in and buy some. The gloves are looking good. And that's my answer. So now that I've said that, is there anything else here that I feel optimistic about that could work out very nicely in the future? And my answer to you is, I'm not exactly super confident that the skins here are going to be totally fine. But there's some interesting details for the next skin I want to talk about. Nomad MP5. So I'm sure many of you are aware in the past we've had, well, a lot of MP5s. And quite some time back, it unfortunately had the debuff, it got nerfed. MP5s back in 2022 with the recall update dropped hard. And now, unfortunately, they're not doing as good as they used to. But I have to bring up that there are certain MP5s that we have that have a notable, interesting detail, and this seems to have taken it a little step further. So if I just go to the workshop page for this skin real quickly, very cool looking design. It pairs out quite nicely with the likes of the Nomad Hazmat, but there's an extra interesting detail right here, and you probably notice it. Get a good look at that aim sight. You have transparency right here, and a little bit right here as well. Now, if you want to make a nice little comparison to the likes of another MP5 skin, let's go grab this and let's just look for another skin. Hopefully we have an aim down the sight image somewhere. I'm trying to find one. I'm trying to find one that I know I've seen in the past. Let's look at Chameleon MP5. Aim down the sight, please. Come on, Milho. There we go. Thank you. Right. That's what we normally see with a standard MP5 aim sight. You have like this like blockage here, and then you got like the rim like fully complete. Not here. No. You see a little bit more. Now, we have seen some MP5s in the past that only had like the transparency here. For example, one of the only good performing MP5 skins we have, the Blacker MP5, has this extra little detail as well. So if I go over to here, you might notice this is currently selling for about $9 at the moment, but it's all because of that. That's right there. Now, what other skins have this? Redemption, the Charitable Rust MP5 from last year, and well, I could take it a step further and I could remind you that with this recent MP5 that we have here from Hedge, well, this takes it a step further and you have like a lot more that you can see. So personally, looking at that, I think a lot of people just rather keep using this. Right, fair enough. But how many of you actually picked up that MP5? Because that was a Twitch drop not too long ago. And if you missed out, well, what are you going to do? Well, I mean, you could look at the likes of this and make a consideration. This actually has a little bit more visibility compared to a $9 Blackout MP5. What do you reckon? Now, here's the thing. I am still hesitant with MP5s. As you can see over here, they're not exactly doing super great, are they? This is all the recent ones. Now, even as I said, the Redemption MP5, even that's starting to, go down a fair bit, which isn't, like, very good. And with all the Twitch drops that we've been seeing, such as this, and it's not the only one. You've got some other ones as well, like Sinx's and the banana one, I can't remember. It's right here, there you go. El Banano, yeah. We keep seeing Twitch drops with like hardly any aim sight. And that's very useful, but it negatively affects our investments and whatnot. I'm sitting here and saying this. What's stopping a content creator who's allowed to have a skin making another MP5 and, exactly like H-Dune, having next to no aim sight? What's stopping them from doing that? So, what do you reckon? Do you reckon that might happen this year? Do you reckon we will see someone who, gets another MP5 and it turns out it's got like next to nothing and that you can see so much more and that gets preferred? So, in short, Nomad might have some problems, and selling at $2.49, fair bit awkward because, that's a bit high of a price. Higher is what I meant to say, sorry. So, I'm just trying to play it smart, and the best thing I can really sit here and say is you don't need to rush into buying it. This is abnormal, all right? On Wednesday night, we can suggest prices we might want to offer for it, and then engage it, and then afterwards look at the buyer support. But that right there, and I should point out, that's no longer called Nomad MP5. They actually changed it, by the way, if you weren't well aware. They accidentally originally called it Nomad MP5, but a Nomad MP5 already exists, which I can show you right here. So, yeah, this is the actual original legit Nomad MP5 that came out years ago. It is actually called Apocalypse Nomad. So I just wanted to point that out. So, on Wednesday night, we will engage this. This is abnormal. We'll do our abnormal barders. We'll look at the support afterwards, and we'll make a consideration in what we're going to do afterwards. It's more special than the standard MP5, but we've seen Twitch drops that, well, a lot of people would sit here and say are better. But if you like the style, if you appreciate what it is, by all means, buy it, use it, enjoy it, support the skin creators, keep them motivated, keep wanting to put out very nice designs in the future. But with that right there, keep an eye on it, all right? I am wanting to do my abnormal barders first, but in terms of the future, well, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? But it's special enough that I had to bring up all of those details. Sounds good? Right, what else is on my radar? I will sit here and say, at the very least, with the likes of Cyber Tier 2, right, when we saw this being accepted today, the Tier 3 did actually spike in demand, spike in price. Now, here's the problem. It was down bad, pretty bad already, and I don't think it's actually managed to retain the value that it had. So what did this go up to? Up to about $1.30 at one point, and what about over to here? Well, that's already gone down a fair bit, but it's in a better position. Now, here's the problem. This sold for $2 each, both of these pieces, and unfortunately, just before today, it was doing terrible. This was down to about 50 cents at one point, but then, of course, continuation, new core piece, spikes up, price goes ever so nicely and highly, but it doesn't seem to be holding. Now, if we do see tier 2 as well, you know, and not tier 2, hoodie and pants as well, we could still potentially see, you know, this spiking up in demand and up in price and whatnot. And, you know, it happened to Damascus. Look at Damascus. Damascus was basically in the exact same position until we saw tier 2 last week. But now it's all in the positive. Everything's looking ever so nice and, you know, good. I worry about cyber as a whole. I don't think it's going to be able to match up to the price it's sold for in the Rust stores. But with what we have here, and, you know, I'm fully confident that we will be seeing hoodie and pants being produced now. Maybe it might take another month. At the end of next month, we shall see, because, you know, this came out literally the end of last month, from January, and the last... Yeah, anyway. Basically, it could still work out quite all right. We do still expect the likes of spike in demand and spike in price when a new core piece appears. And if we do see, you know, cyber hoodie and pants, maybe at the end of March, well, actually, no, it can't, because we have Easter. Oh, no. Well, we'll have to just wait and see. But I'm very unsure on it, but I could still see the spike in demand. It basically, you just do a very low ball buy order, and then, you know, much like how even Damascus rose up in price, this can too. And, you know, with what happened to the tier 3, you know, still went up in price. It's just... It did go down pretty hard, didn't it? So, yeah, still cautious, not super motivated behind it, but it could still work out quite all right in the future. Right, so you're probably better off just waiting until Wednesday, because all 3 pieces of these, they're abnormal. So we'll look at it on Wednesday, we'll make a decision on how we're going to approach it, but I think I'm definitely going to be sticking with doing a lower price buy order. But with that, I could still potentially manage to make a good profit, especially if we do see the likes of the hoodie and pants being produced and accepted at some point in the future. So we shall see. The next thing I want to bring up, which I'm 50-50 on, is the Thundergold SAR. So in regards to the Thundergold SAR, all SAR skins at the moment, when you look at all of them, what do you see? Oh no, that's not looking super great. But again, Twitch drop. What's going on here? Well, if you actually take a look at the likes of these Twitch drops, you might notice that they have very, well, cool designs, number one, and they have the aim sight situation. So much like the MP5, transparency. And then over to here, a lot of transparency. And if we look at our Thundergold SAR, it doesn't have that. It's got a very cool pearlescent white design with, you know, gold trim and whatnot. That's nice, that's cool. But is it what everybody's chasing after? Because unfortunately, yeah, you got the panels there. But is it really that much of a difference? I ask you genuinely, is that really going to make that much of a difference when you know, that little bit there? Really? Hey, at the end of the day, you know, everyone's going to have a different opinion and whatnot. Feel free to comment if you'd like. But yeah, when you get the likes of this and this being given away for free, it's definitely going to negatively affect the likes of the SAR skins. And as you can see, all the SARs that came out last year, not looking pretty good. However, looking at this Thundergold SAR, looking at the Thundergold collection, and knowing that there are still being, you know, still skins being made for this collection, we still potentially could have the hoodie and pants. I'm just pointing that out. But I do know more weapons are going to be produced for this collection. I know that there's a fairly decent chance more of them will be accepted, because it seems to be doing very nicely at the moment, especially in terms of the acceptances. Keep that in mind. Facepunch likes it. I think the SAR can work out quite all right. Now, here's another thing. A lot of people looking at these skins just instantly went, nah. But here's the thing. If they don't sell that much, all the better for them to rise up in price. So I now bring up what happened with the likes of the AK-47 not too long ago. It didn't sell that much, did it? Now, at the moment, it's evens, which at the end of the day is a lot better compared to the many other AKs that have come out over the past year. So you look at that and you go, oh, but Hedge, you know, it's only evens. Yeah, well, at least it's not down by 59% or 55% or 75%. Whoa, that was a $3.49 skin as well. Well, basically, the point I'm trying to say is these Thundergold skins, I'm pretty sure, will have enough, you know, buy order support to keep the prices up, to do better compared to the other skins of the same weapons and whatnot. So, in short, whilst this isn't exactly profiting like crazy, it's clearly being affected by the upcoming, well, currently we're going through it, Easter dip. And, well, if we do see the likes of continuations for the Thundergold collection, which, are currently in line and, will be appearing over the course of this weekend with the newest Rust Workshop skin submissions, well, I think it actually might work out quite all right. But what we have to do is, number one, keep an eye on the sales that's going to happen. So, over to here, we're going to have to wait until Wednesday. This is an abnormal skin. Now, it's selling for $3, probably kind of dissuaded a lot of people. But if I look at that on Wednesday and it's done less than 10,000 sales, I'm jumping in. Yeah, because I can't help but assume in the future, if we keep seeing more and more Thundergold stuff being accepted, people will be appreciating it. And then I also want to bring up the idea of how many white SARs do we actually have? So we do have that Twitch drop, and I had to point out again, when you get very good Twitch drops and whatnot, it does negatively affect the likes of our investments. But how many people actually pick that up? Well, we don't know. But Thundergold SAR, pearlescent white with some gold trim, should be useful in terms of if you want to run around in the Arctic and snowy biomes. Well, you do have that, but it's kind of brown as well. Scroll down a little bit more. Arctic Skull is mostly white, but it's got a bit of black at the top and red trim. But I meant to say. But then I bring up the likes of the Comic SAR. And the Comic SAR is beloved. Liked. People running around in the snowy areas with their full whiteout sets, they like to use the comics weapons because, pairs up very nicely, doesn't it? So if that's starting to sell for what price? Oh, yeah, $11.50. Yep, this is $11.50 currently, as you can see right here. Maybe some people are like, oh, well, that's a little bit too expensive, isn't it? Well, you know what? This right here is 4 times cheaper. And maybe, just maybe, that might work out very nicely for it in the future. What do you reckon? At the very least, let's wait until Wednesday. We'll look at it, see the sales, consider what prices we might want to offer for the likes of that. And then, well, we'll proceed. We'll do our abnormal barders. We'll look at the abnormal barter support afterwards. And then we'll consider if we actually want to jump in and buy some. So that right there actually might work out quite all right if it doesn't even sell that much. So that's not too hard to understand, I'm sure. Right, so the other skins. Unfortunately, in regards to boots, they aren't as reliable as gloves. It's awkward. I'm not fully sure with the likes of Damascus if everything's going to work out right. Sorry, I'm stumbling here. So I'm a bit more cautious with that. I'm not as confident, compared to the gloves. But at the very least, we'll look at it Wednesday. We'll make a consideration. I still stand firm with the likes of the gloves, though. And the AK? It's fine for what it is, but how many AKs have we had, accepted so far this year? And how many will we end up with the rest of this year? Yeah, there's a bit of a problem. We're like 8 weeks in and we've already got 8 skins. And if we look at likes of last year, how many did we end up with last year? 44. So you shouldn't be too surprised to see that the vast majority of them are in the negative, and I worry for that. There's one little saving grace for it, the colour scheme, the turquoise, greeny, blue. Well, I mean, that's definitely unique compared to all the other skins here, because I don't think anything else has done anything like that. About, oh, God. So, yeah, I'm very 50-50 on it. It's an AK-47, and AK-47s tend to not be very reliable investments. So it's as simple as that. So, guys, that's basically everything right there. I will inform you. Please consider keeping an eye on the workshop over the course of this weekend, because you will want to keep an eye out for the likes of continuations. Much like last week, where we were looking at these skins, I sat here and said, guys, look, we got flashbacks here, and it's potentially a new budget Forest Raiders alternative. We should keep an eye on the workshop to make sure, if we see a continuation, then that will only reinforce our opinion in considering into investing into it. And guess what happened? As we scroll down over to here, wow. So what do you reckon? Next week? What do you reckon? So keep an eye on the workshop with the likes of these skins. Maybe we'll see some more cyber skins being produced. Maybe we'll see some more Thundergold. Maybe we'll see some more Nomad. Do you get the idea? Keep an eye on the workshop. Keep an eye and see what's being submitted. And of course, keep an eye on the commits as well. Because I wouldn't be surprised if something extra potentially gets added just before we have the Forcewipe. Maybe. But stay informed and be aware of what's lining up for next week. Now, I'm really looking forward to seeing what that Moonlight is like, because I have made a video over here discussing the potential that Blackout and all the alternatives such as Dragon Rage, Pirate, Training, Black Gold, and of course Legacy Kevlar, they might be getting a boost, because now you can vaguely see at night time, especially outside, and maybe just to get that extra little bit more of an advantage, people will be roaming around in Blackout and alternatives. We shall see. But consider watching this. It's only 10 minutes, but I bring up all the points that you need to be aware of. And, well, next week, let's just wait and see. And don't forget, next week, it should be an early Rustore rotation. It's a Forcewipe, so be prepared for something like that. So thank you very much for watching me. I greatly appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. And if you would like, please consider looking at the likes of my Twitter. Look in the description of this video. You'll see the link to it. I'll keep you informed of all the new submissions on the workshop. And of course, if anything interesting pops up, I'll make sure to point it out. So once again, thank you very much for watching me. Catch you later. See you and goodbye.